Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Conspiracy Farm, where we don't start the conspiracies, we just add the water. And now, your host of the most state-of-the-art, most informed podcast on the interweb, I present to you Pat Miletich and Jeffrey Wilson. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for war?
All right, man. Fantastic Sam's, brother. We are, locked and loaded for a bit of a special election eve, whatever way you want to say that, episode of the Conspiracy Farm. I'm, as always, Jeffrey Wilson, kicking it with my homeboy, UFC Hall of Famer Pat Miletich. What's up, champ?
You know what? I'm happy we're doing the show. We're getting it in the day before the election, and dude, talk about just sick feeling in my stomach from all the garbage that's been going on.
I mean, it's so much development. Even in, what we did the show a week and a half ago. I mean, it's like in between each of these last 3 or 4 episodes, so much has gone down, man.
A lot. I mean, a lot. I mean, the FBI is good, but are they good enough to go through 650,000 emails in 8 days? Fuck no.
Yeah. That was a little crazy, man. I mean, this, like I said,
what was the math? If you spend 1 minute on each one of 650,000, it'd take you 451 days to get through it.
I saw that breakdown.
Yeah. No, it's pure insanity. Everything that's happening is pure insanity, and getting emails from guys who were, I'm just going to say were, in the intelligence community, CIA, where things are confirmed about the pedophilia that's going on with these lunatic globalist elitists.
These parties on the Jeffrey Epstein plane, Lolita Express.
You and I talked about this stuff.
Episode 1.
Yeah, dude, it's sickening, and I've got young children. You've got children. That's
not even withstanding the whole, Huma classified stuff winds up on Wiener's laptop. Inside baseball going on with Donna Brazile, CNN correspondent feeding Hillary information prior to the debate. The DOJ leaning on the FBI to shut down Clinton Foundation investigations. I mean, it's just like, what?
Yeah. Now who's leaning on the NYPD to not do their press conference that they said they were going to do?
Well, yeah, and I mean, you're alluding to what I saw in the last couple days. Whatever, this guy who was, what's his name, Eric? Somebody had an interview with Breitbart News.
Dude. Eric Prince. He's former Navy SEAL and he was owner of Blackwater.
Okay. So, I mean, yeah, I've already seen people like, just because of that, whatever. But his claim is, NYPD, if the FBI, which clearly they're not, is not going to make a move on this, a litany of information as it relates to not just this classified stuff, but this pedophile child trafficking ring, which is going down. And these guys going to these sex parties with kids. I mean, it sounds crazy, but this goes back to, like I said, what we talked about in the first episode. This goes back to the Franklin report. The guy who did that wound up dying suspiciously about governors, lawyers, doctors, congressmen, all a part of this. Not all of them, but, these type of individuals are a part of this syndicate of traffic of children.
Dude, the emails, I'm combing through the emails, and one of the people in the Clinton campaign talking about, and Podesta and all these other people, there's a pool party, and said, dude, we're bringing the kids.
Yeah, one's 7, one's 10, one's 5.
One's 7, yeah. It's like, and the heater's been on in the pool, so they're definitely going to be in the water, and
yeah.
There's all the code for.
That was trippy. You sent me that. That was interesting.
Emails for what they're ordering, like
yes,
hot dog is a young boy, pizza, all these other code words for.
Well, and then to see the one you sent me from, I forget who it was, saying how Obama spent $68,000 on pizza and hot dogs shipped from Chicago for a private party at the White House. I'm like, what?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know, man. And that's what I'm seeing too. A lot of these things are, these individuals, even in the Hillary, they're coded. They're using codes for names, not just for the pizza thing, but for individuals. Everyone has a code name. It's it's very cloak and dagger. But again, man, it's on its face. Like, what is going on right now? Like, how did the FBI come out and say nothing's going on? Like, we're just hearing from everywhere, plain and simple, basic baseball, classified shits on Huma's man's laptop. And even Clinton was sending stuff to her housekeeper and stuff like that. So, like, right there alone, don't we have a case of, like, misappropriation of classified information, let alone the perjurous testimony to FBI? You know, isn't that a lock right there?
It's a truckload, dude. And Comey, you've already illustrated how Comey is intertwined with the Clinton crime family. His brother being part of that group, and they've definitely, we should have known. We were excited when they announced that they were reopening the investigation, dude. We should have known. We shouldn't even got our hopes up.
No, you're absolutely right. And I was like, man, that was almost just as bizarre a world as them getting away with everything. I'm like, what? The FBI is going to, like, investigate, the machine that is, of course, Hillary's such a huge part of it. But yeah, we had those hopes dashed really quickly yesterday.
And we have these psycho liberals. I've got liberal friends, dude, that are on my Facebook conversations still arguing on behalf of Clinton, and it's just disgusting, dude.
Well,
it's disgusting. And these people are not ignorant people.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They're just completely blindfolded.
Well, and this is the weird thing. I don't know what it is. We've talked about people setting up normalcy biases in their brain, but it's just like either they're not really internal. When you have an axe to grind, like you really set up that cognitive dissonance. I could set up anything to shut you down, but because you're so blindly devoted to your person, you're just gonna be like, you're not gonna listen to it. So it's like I'm just confounded by. People do think it's a binary choice. If I'm snapping on Hillary Clinton, does not mean I like Donald Trump. And if anybody supports him, that's fine. I have agreements with him on certain things and obviously disagreements on certain things. But Hillary is a criminal and a sociopath. Absolutely. And she's fucking children. Like, I'm sorry to use such, like, coarse language, but it's absolutely disgusting. And for anybody to have any level of patience for that because another guy spoke completely disgustingly about women, etc., come on, man. We're talking serious apples and elephants here. We're not even talking like the same.
Yeah, it's and with the WikiLeaks, these people, the interesting part, how they've gotten tied into our intelligence community. And our intelligence community, obviously, there's a lot of patriots still in there, buddy, because they are assisting WikiLeaks and feeding them a lot of this stuff also for WikiLeaks to release, which makes it even more legit. When you go through the list of 100 top WikiLeaks emails, the lies and everything else that's been proven, and the criminal activity, dude, it's, Obama lied and knew about Hillary's secrets. This is just a few of them. He was using a pseudonym when he was emailing her. Dude, it's Hillary Clinton.
All of that's just scratching the surface and then getting to the deeper. So
many different things with these emails that Hillary once opened borders. She received massive amounts of money from nations that we know and knew were funding ISIS. It's paying people to incite violence at Trump rallies.
Yes, that's another one. In black and white. Like, what?
Yeah, they want unaware and compliant citizens in other emails. Their aides mock Catholics for their faith. And still there's, how many millions of Catholics are just, she's a woman, I'm going to vote for her.
That's what I'm saying. It freaks me out, Pat. It really does. Because I'm just like.
Deleting incriminating emails, state covered it up.
Well, even the DOJ,
White
they
House
have the
executive
DOJ
privilege to hide from Congress.
They have the Department of Justice clearly, hanging out with the former president, who happens to be, the husband of the woman who's about to be indicted or not indicted, and
they're talking about indicting. Hillary Clinton, obviously Weiner and Huma Abedin, Loretta Lynch, the President of the United States, Obama.
So have we seen Huma? She jumped off the trail and they said she was working from the headquarters in New York. But then reading that stuff you said from Eric Prince, her and Weiner are in New York setting up immunity deals with the NYPD. Have we seen her?
Not at all. Not at all. She's in hiding, dude. And so is Weiner.
With the NYPD, you think?
Very possibly. They're probably staying there for protection. Set me up in a gray bar hotel so I don't die.
Yeah.
Imagine how scared they're going to be if Clinton becomes president.
Well, I mean, if there's nothing to any of this, why is her right-hand girl all of a sudden just missing? If there was,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and why are so many asking for immunity deals? Not
Well,
just that.
something else, when we talk about the release of all these emails, it's the Russians, it's WikiLeaks. From what, again, it's the interweb, and of course, we love starting and stirring shit here on the old conspiracy farm. So, a report I saw yesterday, an FBI agent who is believed to be responsible for some of the leaks was found dead in an apparent murder-suicide, him and his wife, I think,
Right.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, his name is Michael Brown, FBI agent Michael Brown. 45 shot and killed his 33-year-old wife, Susan Brown, late Friday night before setting the couple's home on fire and turning the gun on himself. 12-year veteran of the Washington Metropolitan Police Department before spending the last 6 years in the FBI. Crazy.
That's bullshit.
Well,
He didn't do that.
no, of course not. Come on, man. Man, again, I've been, barking up this tree for a while, and even going back to the Kennedy assassination, man. How many people are killing themselves like that? That many numbers? Come on.
Right. Oh, then we move on to spirit cooking, buddy. Let's talk a little spirit cooking. You want to host a spirit cooking party?
I'm glad you remembered that name. So break it down, ladies and gentlemen. Get your barf bag next to you so you can understand how deep and diabolical these sick fucks are. What is spirit cooking, Pat?
Spirit cooking. It's this occultish, freaky group of people that walk around with dead goat heads and smear menstrual blood on the walls. Right with that, they bake cake with menstrual blood and semen and all kinds of other nasty stuff in it.
Soup's on, everyone. Soup's on.
Child mock sacrifices, all kinds of sick stuff.
We know better than that.
Dude, in the emails to Podesta, dude, he's our campaign manager, and he's an occult satanic freak that goes to these things.
Yeah,
I'm so looking quotes in the email. I'm so looking forward to the spirit cooking dinner at my place. Do you think you'll be able to let me know if your brother is joining also? Are you in New York City Thursday, July 9th? Marina wants you to come to dinner, Mary. Dear John, I'm sorry, but I will not be able to make it since I'm in Australia for 2 big projects. Be back on July 6th. I would like to take this opportunity to invite you to dinner on July 9th at my place together with Tony, whom I already invited. These people, dude, they talk about dinner dates with this spirit cooking like it's, let's go down to Duck City Bistro and have lunch.
Yeah.
Some sick bastards, dude.
Well, and this is all, again, man, part of kind of it's been around forever, man, Luciferian cults that engage in any type of, like, spirit rituals and child sacrifice is a part of this. And unfortunately, it's just, I don't know, the nature of the beast, and these guys, and this also, man, Jeffrey Epstein, these emails link these guys to the parties that Jeffrey Epstein throws on his plane and on these private islands, the Lolita Express, where they go and supply these islands and these parties with children. It's twisted, but this is what's happening, man. And hopefully, man, if everything is right in the universe, more of this is going to be coming out officially. Everybody who's in the realm like me and you and the quote-unquote conspiracy world, tin hat cats, we've known about this for quite a while. But the whole unfathomable thing was the fact that it might come out mainstream because this is ubiquitous, ladies and gentlemen. This is everywhere. Politicians, chief of polices, city hall, mayors, doctors, lawyers, universities. Look at that, what was his name? Penn State. What was that guy's name? Sandusky.
Oh yeah.
He was organizing that shit for boosters, not just for Penn State, man, all over. This is a big deal, man. This is a very big deal.
Dude, the same evil elitists that were in the Catholic Church doing this stuff for years.
Yeah,
right?
And then Paterno dies within like weeks of this breaking. Yeah, I know he had cancer, but come on, guys, come on. Seriously.
So let's go through getting off the freaky spirit cooking and which is it's.
But look that up, everyone, please.
Talking about this evilness and all this other stuff, but there's so much corruption. The King of Morocco gave the Clinton Foundation $12 million for a meeting with Hillary. 6 months later, Morocco gets weapons. What is it? 1,400% more weapons flow into Morocco after this donation. Talk about pay for play. How can the Clinton Foundation, which is still under investigation by the FBI, dude, if they don't find crime in this organization. Meanwhile, the CEO is still in hiding. He hasn't tweeted still since October 12th. I've been following his Twitter feed just to check. The dude supposedly asked for the asylum in Russia.
You're talking about the head of the Clinton Foundation.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I remember you saying something about that. They still haven't found him, or he hasn't resurfaced.
He hasn't tweeted nothing. No, he was hot on his Twitter feed, pumping up the election, pumping up all kinds of different stuff, and then boom, disappeared. October 12th, done. He knew this FBI investigation was coming. He knew heavy shit was hitting the fan, and dude, he disappeared. I'm telling you right now.
Wow.
And if you go on his Twitter feed, dude. So
I remember I saw that. His last one was, whatever that date you said. There's been nothing since then, which
October
is weird.
12th.
Yeah.
And the amount of people who have been replying to his last few tweets saying, dude, where are you? You're in hiding. You're in deep trouble. All kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of people out there that know what's up with this guy, right?
You would think, clearly. Somebody like that doesn't go off the grid somebody off Twitter for 2 weeks. Unless he's just an irregular user of Twitter, you can check his traffic. But I can imagine.
So this is from October 25th, right?
Right.
The headline this is off of CDN, where they say, where in the world is Clinton Foundation CEO Eric Braverman? Asylum, hiding, or dead? So nobody knows, but you can go to his Facebook, just punch in Eric Braverman. Braverman is Braverman, and Twitter. Google that, then go to his Twitter page and hit him up. Say hello.
Where are you,
sir? What's up,
sir?
Eric? How you doing, buddy?
You want to come on the show?
Can you open the coffin lid and send us a message?
Right. Wow, they'll probably find him afterwards, or find his body, or he'll probably resurface in some fashion after. But I don't know, the investigation. Oh wow, Janet Reno. Just found out Janet Reno died. He'll probably resurface after the investigation of whatever the Clinton Foundation concludes.
Will he resurface? I don't
know.
If Hillary's the president, maybe.
Resurface,
right?
Dead or alive, we found the floating corpse of Eric Braver, or who knows.
But if Trump gets elected, dude, you talk about turning on the light and watching the cockroaches just scamper.
Oh man.
Watch what happens if Trump
sure.
wins. And I'm getting a little more optimistic about Trump winning. I really am. I know you've said over and over, no way, they're not going to let him win. I think the flood of people that are voting for Trump is going to be overwhelming. I really do.
And I agree. I think that's the case, and I think there's going to be a lack of show up for Hillary. So I think that deficit's going to be so big. They could steal it in a 50-49 type scenario, which they're trying to present it as. But as we've talked about, look at those crowds, man. Fox or even CNN, they can't even do wide shots at her crowds because it's like they got everyone pushed to the front. Where you see Trump's things, again, I'm not on the dude's dick, but he's got, blocks and blocks of people waiting to get into his rally, which winds up adding up to thousands of people.
Right. So, back to Braverman.
Yes.
I'm on this. I want people to pay attention to this stuff, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, how many people are going to disappear and die? I mean, it's just like apparently it doesn't matter to the American electorate, but Jesus, for the love of God, where's the line, everyone? When do we start realizing like there's some grimy shit going on?
Yeah. So still October the 12th, same tweet. It was where do Clinton and Trump have the most upside? He tried showing a map that was a good chunk of it blue, for her, obviously.
And yeah, Comey didn't come out with his statement that the Clinton Foundation was under investigation and had been for the last year until like a week or so after that. So maybe he preempted that disclosure with like, I'm out of here.
So I'm going through and reading. People are sending him tweets. Why are you seeking asylum at the Russian consulate?
Steven Seagal was just granted Russian citizenship.
Steven Seagal?
Yeah, he's already out of here.
He's a trip, dude. Then another one. Moving to Russia? I hope it's because you did something honorable like testifying against Hillary.
Well, speaking of Russia, man, you sent me something the other day. Like rumors abound. They're mobilizing Their fleet, they already have stuff off in Syria, but out in the Mediterranean, they got stuff going down. You said something about a fighter got shot down.
Well, that's the thing. Look, call me a tinfoil hat wearer, but how many things that we've said over the past year that have come true?
Well, no. This was on the heels of rumors of, and I've heard this for a while, and this was actually in the movie, the latest Red Dawn, is this art imitating life or vice versa? An EMP attack is what is supposed to be precipitated or to precipitate some type of ground invasion. But in light of this, a general, the most highest ranked general, senior officer ever, has killed himself, and he did this in July 31st, but the ruling of his death was just made a week or two ago. And this is Major General John Rossi, and this was about 2 days before he was about to take command of the Army Space and Missile Command, which, pretty powerful position as it relates to our nuclear arsenal, space,
He was taken over. He was one of the other guys with his finger on the button, right? And,
yes.
Chances are he did not get along well with President Obama, especially if you're the president and you need to facilitate some sort of something. You need a false flag. I guess you're going to need a guy like that to get along with you, right?
Well, and this coincides with not all of them have been killed, but a serious purging going on of your top brass in the military who apparently, like you said, aren't exactly on board with not just Obama, because obviously he's going to be gone, but with this next phase of global, incitement, if you will. Yeah,
and if I'm devil's advocate, I'm going to say, look, every president purges military that he doesn't get along with, but this is on an unprecedented scale. Hundreds and hundreds of generals and admirals have been removed because they did not agree with these globalists coming into power, man. And look, there's been globalists not as aggressive, not as obvious. It was more gradual steps back then with Bush 1 and 2, with Bill Clinton. Those were more gradual steps towards the New World Order and all the other stuff. Now it's just blatant in your face. We're moving fast. We want it to happen now. The time is now to strike, type thing. And so that's the thing. But yeah, a general like that is not. He's got his shit together.
Right.
That's not a guy that just goes and kills himself.
Yeah, he's been vetted psychologically. I mean, I know a lot of these guys on more lower level have issues with suicide. I totally understand that and totally sympathize with that. But like you said, these guys are badasses. These are career military people. Speaking to what you just mentioned ago, man, but I think a lot of this election is, and I think this is coming out in the polls. People are hip to this shit, man. People are, even though they may not get globalism versus nationalism so much, they're just like in 2008, man, or even the Tea Party, the organic movement of it. People are sick of the establishment. The establishment running shit and ruining shit. This is the same thing that happened with Brexit. This is going to be a very similar type of referendum. Do you want more federal global control, which is taking us down a path that we've already seen, or somebody who's willing to rein that in, or at least he's saying he's willing to rein that in? And with everything that's gone down, I think anybody could say that. Anybody could say what Trump is saying, and it's going to resonate because people are so tired of this, what we've seen over the last however many decades.
Yeah, and to help people understand, the globalism thing, and, when I was introducing Rand Paul at St. Ambrose College, I was doing a speech, and, I went through just basic policies that he has and a mindset that he has that I agree with and understand. I simplified it for the crowd. I mean, Rand Paul, the only drawback to him is that he's such an intelligent guy that I don't know if he's able to dumb things down for the general public when he explains them. That's what I was there for, right? And I'm not knocking myself, but let's be honest, I'm not Dr. Rand Paul.
Okay? Right.
But so when I explained the Federal Reserve and his desire to audit it, auditing the Federal Reserve, which is an entity that is controlled not just by Americans. There's a lot of foreigners that control the monetary system. And I said to the crowd, do you even understand that we cannot have foreigners controlling our monetary system, because those who control our money control our policies and our politicians. And you better wake up pretty quick, because auditing the Federal Reserve would then educate the rest of America, which they have blinders on, don't understand it, that foreign powers, foreign people, bureaucrats in Brussels and Switzerland and Germany and other places are controlling our monetary system, and that's why you see our politicians pushing Hillary Clinton being sold out to these people, saying, I want completely open borders in the Western Hemisphere. Dude, that is a collapse of all Western nation sovereignty. That's what they want. They want to destroy all sovereignty and will to fight, will of unity, the unity of the people, to be able to fight back. And that's just one of the many prongs, but that's the main linchpin. If you can get rid of the Federal Reserve, get rid of federal charters for banks, and go with just state charters, and remove the globalists from controlling our monetary system, they no longer have any power over our politicians, right?
Absolutely. And that's always, if you read the book Diary of an Economic Hitman, I mean, that's how you are, even as an individual or enslaved, or even as a country, is through debt. And that's exactly what essentially the EU has done to a lot of these smaller countries that don't exactly produce on the same level as them. They just enslave them with all these different regulations and mandates that they just can't necessarily keep up with.
Yeah. Now, I just got, Joe Biggs, who was on our show, right?
Joe Big, yep.
Gotta love that guy. Former Special Forces, now works for our boy over at InfoWorld.
Oh,
right?
InfoWars, Alex
InfoWars,
Jones,
I mean.
yeah.
Alex Jones, yeah. So
He's always entertaining.
Suddenly gets a he posts on Facebook, Hillary Clinton cancels her fireworks celebration over the Hudson River. Not sounding so confident now, is she? I love that. That gives me a little bit. That gives me a shot in the arm.
Yeah. I didn't hear that. That's funny.
So let's go through and talk about on this election, if Trump wins. What happens when Trump wins? What are the steps if he follows through with his words? What's the first thing he does? Executive orders.
Well, I mean, apparently, from his mouth, he's going to repeal Obamacare.
Obamacare, number one, right? I think he's going to, if he follows through with actions, going to go after the Federal Reserve.
And when he says, and he's mentioned several times, he's going to basically kick the shit out of ISIS. He knows what ISIS is, so I'll be anxious to see how he implements that. Will he just go after the tentacle of the beast, or will he start getting to these countries, the U.S. included, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Israel, Pakistan, who are putting these forces into action? I'll be anxious to see how that plays out.
Yeah, put the hammer down, pull funds and arms from Saudi Arabia and all these others.
Exactly.
Talk about turning things upside down. But does he set up a meeting with Putin right away?
Well, and I was just going to say, I'd be anxious to, you'll see quickly if he does do that, how that tide turns. If he pulls back, basically us arming that, and it is just, the Saudis and those Arab countries, pissing in the wind and doing this, it's going to make it easier for Putin to do what he's already doing. But yeah, according to this chess game, as far as I'm concerned, Putin will be a good ally. Is Putin an angel? I'm sure. No, he's a motherfucker. But at this point in time, he's seeing his country, and over the last several years through, going back to the Warsaw Pact, and NATO, his country being encircled. And it's just, you're seeing it more and more, and he's way hip to what's going on. And, starting with Crimea and all that, he's put the brakes on that, man. Absolutely. As well he should, as well we would. If any country did to us what we do to other countries setting up shop, we wouldn't be happy. If we saw Chinese tanks and shit driving down the street.
If Russia or China were suddenly allies with Mexico and suddenly Russian troops were massing on our border on our southern
we'd have a problem with it.
This would be a serious issue. We'd be getting after it already probably. So, but no,
there's
NATO
more to
troops,
come.
U.S. troops, NATO troops are massing along the Russian border. Russia is moving its troops into position. Is that false flag going to be a Russian or American fighter jet getting shot down over Syria? I think that's the most likely scenario that happens with that. But let's get back to, I don't want to get off track too much with America trying to use this extremist group ISIS to take Assad out. Dude, people don't realize that Assad allowed Christians and all types of different religions to live within his nation. He wasn't attacking anyone. And, there were large populations of Christians inside of Syria who were not harassed and being killed. Okay. So, when this fictitious, chemical attack by Assad takes place when UN inspectors are 5 miles away from the attack, it's bullshit.
Right. Who in their right mind does that?
Right. So the fact that there's this big battle in Mosul going on with, from what reports that I'm getting from guys in the military, that there is a purposeful backdoor exit being given to ISIS, which is ironically just happens to be the direction of Syria.
Well, I'm reading now they just found a mass grave of 100 decapitated bodies in Mosul.
Yeah, yeah. So, it's obvious what's going on. And my seventh grade daughter had to pick a subject. They were given certain subjects to write about of current geopolitical stuff that's going on, and she picked ISIS and came home to me and said, "Hey, Dad, can you help me write this article?"
Oh, no.
Now, the funny thing is I don't brag about it. I'm lucky to have connections with people who know what's really going on with these people. We had on my good friend Josh Howitt, who knows how this stuff works because he lived in it in South Africa when Russia and China were arming extremist groups to come after them. And I know her teacher because he started his first year was when I was in 8th grade at Bettendorf Middle School, and that's when his first year on teaching. So I've known him that long, right?
Right.
And so I go, yeah, I'll help you write it. And he gave them, go to CNN for your information. And I saw him before she was done with the paper. I saw him and I go, look, dude. I go, don't tell my kid to go to CNN, the Clinton News Network, for information on ISIS, dude. I go, give me a break. And he goes, well, where do you go for your information? I said, well, U.S. intelligence officers.
Right.
Shit like that. I go, at least give them options like Breitbart and some of these others. He goes, Breitbart? He goes, what's Breitbart? So I wrote it down for him.
Wow.
I go, dude. So he went and checked it out, and I saw him again, and he goes, wow, dude, okay. So we write a factual paper on ISIS, their creation, how they came about, everything else. Yeah, she got an A+.
Did you? Nice. Now
so we opened his eyes a little bit.
Now she's on the list.
But so, the meeting between Trump and Putin would take place.
Sure.
I think that ISIS gets smoked at that point, gets done away with. Assad survives. Syria gets rebuilt, most likely, right? Because if Trump's being true to his words, he's an anti-globalist like Putin. Suddenly we are allies with Russia again against these globalist freaks, right?
Right. Well, then it's all fun and games. It's all chess game. Everybody's flipping sides. And I think once they shut that down, then I think, transfers to that conversation we had with Josh last week, man, the big bullseye, which is Africa, us, Russia, and China. It's already happening, and the South China Sea, et cetera. But I think if ISIS is shut down, it'll just move to your Boko Harams or any of those groups that Josh was talking about last week when it was, a very similar scenario of, like you said, funding militants for a larger political end.
Right, and the U.S. president can't necessarily stop the arming of these groups because the people that are doing it are the globalists,
right,
through NATO and other organizations that are global organizations. So at that point, does Trump really pull a fast one and just pull us out of NATO?
Well, I mean, if we start getting hip with, I don't know, man, there's this benevolent cause of NATO and the UN, there's supposed benevolent cause is that's the mask for this like wicked agenda. If we could start getting hip to what these guys are really doing, it would be easier for us to pull out of NATO once we see what the hell they're doing. If we keep falling for the fact like, no, it's, to stem the tide of war and another Hitler, et cetera, it's like, dude, come on, we're fucking starting wars every goddamn where.
Yeah. So what happens if Hillary's elected? What are the steps she takes then to go the other direction?
What can she do, dude? If the Congress does anything, these investigations won't go away. And if the NYPD sticks to their word and comes out officially with all this stuff, she's going to be immobilized by either a special prosecutor, congressional hearings, if not an indictment. I mean, How can she govern being under indictment and the possibility of going to jail? I mean, it's just. And these other people, they're gonna if they're taking immunity deals right now, we're gonna hear about it, and she's gonna tell the tale.
Yep. Hold on one second. Hey, cut it right there. I gotta run it. I gotta run out. I gotta let my dogs out there whining.
Go for it. I got time.
Hold on. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. So,
No worries.
let's pick up with Hillary.
Go for it.
So, you don't think then Hillary, if she's elected, that she's going to be able to have any Supreme Court justices appointed? She's not going to be able to move anything with single payer health care, getting rid of Obamacare and going to single payer, which crushes the American people even more. None of these things are going to be possible, you think, huh?
I mean, I don't see it. I mean, literally, she, how? It's, she's just going to be completely bogged down, like I said, with litigation. At Congress, I can't imagine them putting forth any of her voting for any of her stuff while she's under investigation / indictment. If they do, it'll be slow moving. It'll be a very slow moving 4 years for her if she gets anything done.
Dude, what do the American patriots do if she's in?
Well, and that's the other thing I kind of been sleeping on, I guess, but I saw over the last few days, both sides, of course, again, it's the interweb, everyone talks shit, vowing violence on either side. If Trump wins, I'm fucking snapping. If Hillary wins, I'm snapping. People are preparing for
I don't think that, again, we go back to, American working people have a lot to lose. They're the ones that are against Clinton, a lot of them, right? The vast majority of all Constitution-loving Americans are completely against her, but they have one eye and half a brain and realize that currently we have a lot to lose. I mean, I've got 3 children, a good job, things like that. Why would I go out and participate in a riot and light a building on fire, right? That's not going to happen, okay? I'm not going to pick up a gun and go shoot a bunch of Hillary supporters. It's not going to happen. Where on the other hand, Soros and his cronies are paying people to go and incite violence, busing people into places like Ferguson and Baltimore and North Carolina and destroy shit. That's what I see happening. If Trump wins, suddenly there's massive riots. Now, in my mind, if I'm President Trump, I say looters are to be shot on sight. And that's how you shut that down. And you just flat out say it. Look, if you're going to go out and destroy stuff, attack people, you're going to get shot. We see you strike a match next to a building, you're taking a bullet through the head. That's the way it's going to be. And that's how you quell this stuff. And to be honest with you, if I'm President Trump, I put out a warrant for Soros's arrest. I go after him.
Is he living in the U.S.?
I'm not 100% sure, but I don't even care. I'll send special forces to go get his ass.
Right.
Because that guy is truly an enemy of the nation, right?
Without a doubt.
So, give me your thoughts on that.
No, absolutely. I think, like I said, I think people talk a little bit more shit, than they actually act out. Everyone's the keyboard warrior, but, I mean, anything that goes down, after, on both sides. Yeah, dude. I mean, in order, like you said, to squash it, you gotta nip it in the bud, man. You gotta nip it in the bud, because something like a social unrest with as incendiary as everything is right now, such a powder keg, it could absolutely spiral out of control. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'm necessarily down with the shoot on sight, but I mean, it depends on how bad it gets, bro. Depends on how bad it gets.
Well, I think that's the only way you control it, dude. You don't let them burn and jump on cop cars.
No, absolutely not.
Shoot cops, ambush cops, all the stuff that's been going on. Shit, 2 Des Moines police officers were just killed.
Bro, so I just watched this movie. It's kind of sucked, but it was just interesting. It's called The Purge. It's the second one. It's called The Purge Election Year. So it's like a few days before election year, but every year they do this thing called The Purge, where like everything's fucking legal. Like you could kill people. Like everything is legal. Have you heard about that?
I know of the movie. I just haven't seen it.
Yeah. I mean, it's really not worth watching, but just that concept. I'm just like, man, if we ever, I wonder if there's ever would come to a point where somebody would be like, no, dude, that's I remember George Carlin called that like passive eugenics. Like, no, there's a certain group of people that just need to go. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just saying, but that is kind of a passive, yeah. I don't know why I brought that up. But.
No, that's what these people are practicing basically, right?
They're purging.
When these mobs get together, that's what they're doing.
Well, I tell you what, if anyone comes around freaking, I'm not giving my address, but, I got something for you. I don't advise it.
Right.
But I mean, obviously, we can't, we've talked about it. I think it does need to get worse before it gets better, because there just needs to be a huge paradigm shift in some way, shape, or form, because it's just strange and bizarre world that Hillary Clinton is a presidential candidate. You know, like Trump talks about, not to lament the dude, but he listed a couple people who've done significantly worse looking at jail time, serious jail time, and she's done significantly worse and is running for president and could potentially be president. It's just like, what world do we live in that world of like complete non-accountability? How do you and I tell our daughters, like, no, follow the fucking rules, man, like work hard, obviously work hard, you know, the good guy always wins, etc. Not necessarily that, but how do we tell them the virtues of law and order when they see right in front of them it not playing out? Well, from at the highest level.
Yeah, at the highest level, and we see that sewage seeping down through society, right?
Drain the swamp.
I remember how many years ago it was. Obama had been in a year or two, and a cop is on, and this is a police officer, and I train cops, so it's not like this normally with these guys, but it scared me to death, where a guy was being harassed or arrested or whatever for doing nothing, basically. And the guy that's being arrested is taping this, and he goes, dude, you can't do this. This is illegal. And he goes, look, the president's breaking the laws blatantly. He goes, so am I. I just thought, you've got to be kidding me.
That's about where it's at.
Right?
Not to say Trump's going to be the silver bullet, but I mean, if he does, we need a shakeup, dude. I think, yeah, I can get all 2012. You know, like they said, the Mayans back in the day said the 2012 is going to be the end, but it actually was just the end of a celestial age. We now moved into the age of Aquarius, which I think will be a big spiritual shift, a big paradigm shift, where people are starting to see the world in a different way. People are just waking up for whatever that means. And for all of his fucking warts or whatever, Trump is emblematic of that and symbolic of that, because everyone's waking up from this malaise of seeing this spell that literally the establishment has had everybody under. The false wars, just people getting away with shit at the highest level. People are over it, man. They're done with it.
They are being educated, right?
Enlightened, hopefully. Hopefully we're entering into another little bit of a late age of enlightenment, if you will.
Yeah. Well, where else is this chaos taking us, dude? Where else? What with the mindset of the Hillary voters? Okay, look, I get it. Trump's a moron for the things he said 10, 11 years ago. All this other stuff. You know, you got a lot of do-gooders who say, you know, you should never talk like this. You and I have both grown up in locker rooms, athletics, all that sort of stuff. Guys talking like garbage.
Right.
It happens. It does happen.
Absolutely.
Like we talked about, you know, Winston Churchill was a known drunk and everything else, but that didn't stop him from doing the right thing. Right.
Right. Well, in this level of pretension, like acting like it doesn't, you know what I mean? Yes, he's running for president. He should be held to a higher standard. I get it. But that's kind of the spell we fall under. They're just people, man. They're just people. So, I mean, yes, they should still, you know, have their shit together, but it's just like this notion that Hillary Clinton doesn't have like a foul freaking mouth. Whatever. I get it. But people can't wait to get butthurt. This is part of that can't wait to get butthurt generation
Now compare that to Hillary's camp emailing, you know, they were excited for a black teen's murder to help her agenda. The quote in their emails, "This is great. Davis was killed by a white man." That's
or the freaking
kind of
listing
That's
of the
kind of people we're dealing with.
Listing of the children's age, 3, 7, and 10. The pool's warm. Can't wait. I mean, it's just like, whoa.
There's no comparison.
There's no fucking comparison, man.
Right. This is the most evil group of human beings, dude. And we've known this has been going on. Look, go back, dude. We've never read this on air, and I want to read it.
Go for it. What you got?
People are going to freak out on me. They're going to go, dude, you are off your rocker. But let me find it. What am I going to read, Jeff? Do you know what I'm going to read?
I don't.
Yes, you do.
The letter?
Yeah.
The 3 wars from it was from what was it, Albert Pike to
Mazzini.
Mm-hmm. Listing the 3 wars that took place. So World 1 and 2 kind of went according to what has gone down, and the third one is still playing out kind of according to what that says.
So people can doubt this, but this letter was discovered long before World War II, not long after World War I. So Albert Pike, Confederate general, many claim that he was the mastermind behind Lincoln's assassination. After Lincoln was assassinated, Lincoln's replacement gave him a full pardon. A lot of crazy stuff. The South was tied to the global banks, to the central banks for their funding for the war. Lincoln had a little bit of that, but also sold war bonds to the North, citizens of the North, to fund their side of the war. He hated the central bankers, and so anyway, I'm going to go ahead and read this and bear with me here. There's basically 3 paragraphs. The last one being for the Third World War and how it would happen is the longest. But remember that this was written in 1871. So it says the First World War will be brought about in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the power of the czars in Russia and of making that country a fortress of atheistic communism. The divergences caused by the agenture, the agents, of the Illuminati between the British and Germanic empires will be used to foment this war. At the end of the war, communism will be built and used in order to destroy the other governments and in order to weaken the religions. Okay, so we know that happened, but this letter was discovered after that war, so people could discredit it easily. But this is long before World War II, and this is what it says about World War II. The Second World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. This war must be brought about so that Nazism, they already knew about Nazism, it was already in place, is destroyed, and that the political Zionism be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel in Palestine. During the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would be then restrained and held back until the time when we would need it for the final social cataclysm. Then we move on to World War III, which is where your hair will stand up on the back of your neck. The Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agenture of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Arabic world, and the political Zionism, the State of Israel, mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economic exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere, the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitude disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment, I can't see very well on the bottom here, that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view. This manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement, which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time.
Interesting.
So that was a letter written in
1871.
And we see it all happening before our eyes, dude. So is Donald Trump the card that they didn't foresee in all of this, if he gets elected, or is he just a stepping stone? They have to assassinate him or take other, right?
Or the best wolf in sheep's clothing ever, gets in and then does, the complete opposite of what he said, but I don't see it being that way. But I also don't, like I said, I just see Hillary winning because, dating back, this architecture, this system, the syndicate, whatever you want to call them, have been around for a very long time and have been planning things out for a very long time. So if he does get in, I don't see him being allowed, A, to get in, and B, to be able to implement anything really, because, there's just too much invested in globalism at this point.
Well, I agree with that, but we're going to be able to spot those. And we already know who they are for the most part, the McCains and McConnells, people like that who are controlled by the globalists on the Republican side. But how fast would then those people, how encouraged and how brave then do the American citizens become to get rid of those guys?
Well,
Right.
and those are kind of seats along the Titanic you can kind of move around. What I want to see is those things like he talks about, ending those things like NAFTA, the TPP,
Right.
rebuilding the factories, bringing in our, having our own steel factories open again, start building again in the United States. Still, you can still trade. There's nothing wrong with still global trade, but like you said, we're just taking in the ass on some of these trade deals. It's ridiculous. We're shipping and exporting nothing and importing everything at a huge deficit to our, to our own economy.
Yeah. How many factories have we lost?
Too many to count over the last
Total Trump's, by Trump's count, which could be exaggerated, 70,000.
Yeah, I mean,
70,000
I don't know the
factories.
numbers, but I know it's just a byproduct of basically, shipping your companies elsewhere for cheaper labor. But we
Right.
all suffer in the end.
And Trump talks about making them pay a 35% tariff tax on their stuff coming back across the border, being sold to us. I think it's as simple as just saying, here's the deal, guys. I'm lowering your taxes, bring your company back, or this is your other option, which he's a smart enough business guy to do. I'm sure that's probably what he's going to offer.
Well, if we stop bleeding so much money out, we can obviously start afford to, companies can start afford to paying, employees more. But yeah, we got to stop. Like you talked about, like in that MSNBC reporter or CNBC who's no longer there, talking about how we're just being extracted by the trillions from all these different countries, from like Donald Trump talks about all these horrible trade deals, currency manipulation. It's got to end if this country's gonna in any way still be viable.
Right.
Otherwise, we will just become a vassal of your World Bank, your World Trade Organization, etc.
So now, for a long time, and before we get off here, I want you to talk about, because you've stated before that you were not voting for Clinton, not voting for Trump, because you just couldn't do it. You couldn't go either way. And then I would talk to you about, voting for Hillary. Potentially, we end up, well, obviously now we know a stagnant, standstill, lame duck president from day one because of investigations and everything else. With Trump, there is at least hope for a real change in the system, a shakeup in the change, and Supreme Court justices being nominated that are conservative in mindset. So have you changed your mindset on this stuff as this podcast has progressed and as this election has
honestly,
unfolded?
on the presidential level, I mean, and I could just be wrong, and I mean, to my understanding, and we could go back to 2000 or to whatever it was with the Al Gore thing. The popular vote obviously doesn't necessarily dictate the presidency. It's more the electoral college, and this is kind of what everyone's articulated with Hillary's kind of cooked the books with her superdelegates and her inside baseball of the electoral college. I kind of vote, and it kind of changes, conservative or liberal a little bit, on more municipal, local stuff. That's where I think it makes it a little bit more different, a lot more difference. For me, the presidential, the last time I voted, bro, was the first time I could vote, and that was for Ross Perot. And then I just stopped just because I just didn't vote anymore. At least
disenfranchised.
I was a disenfranchised, at least presidential
Wilson.
voter. I still voted on local stuff.
Right. That would be your ring name if you were a fighter, Jeffrey Disenfranchised Wilson. Looking all somber over in your corner.
Right, exactly. Looking all disenfranchised, shuffling to the ring.
But no, this has been a good podcast, man. Keep your fingers crossed. I'm going to vote for Trump, and I'm not going to hide it. I'm certainly not going to vote for a psychopath like Clinton,
God, no.
The globalist. This election truly is the global elite versus the United States citizens. That really comes down to that. So, that's the way I see it. I know that that's the way it is, and I hope people realize that before they pull the.
And I'll also get hip to these emails that are more than just, whatever, office emails. These guys are hiding a lot of crazy shit with this Clinton Foundation, some child trafficking. If you want some background on it, look up documentaries like The Franklin Report. The gentleman who did that documentary, investigated that, died prematurely. He's a former FBI guy. I mean, there's a lot of information out about this ring, if you will. This is what we're talking about, man. Not just political corruption. We're talking about some evil, evil, sick shit. So please go check that out. Even after the election, get more informed on this cabal.
Right. And, in closing, I'm going to thank our sponsors. Your other podcast, It's Me Speaking to You. It's a great show. Love that. I've been on that a couple times. Firehorse Combatives, law enforcement and military training. You can go to firehorsecombatives.com. The Iowa Bison Company. I'm meeting with him later today to pick up some products. It's the best damn bison.
Oh, just grabbed some yummy bison yesterday.
Completely replaces beef in my family, and also C4, the concealed carry clothing company. So look those
C4.com. Check it out, man. She's blowing up, man. Miss Pamela Johnson.
Good stuff. Very, very quality clothing. Walk around and in comfort when you're concealing a weapon.
Yeah, you got one on the way to you, brother. It should be there. It should be getting there. It should be shipping it out pretty soon.
I'm looking forward to that.
I understand.
So yeah, take it away, man.
All right, well, yeah, it's in closing, man. This has just been another awesome episode. Thank you, champ. And tomorrow is election day, ladies and gentlemen. Keep your cool. Whatever happens, let's all ride this out together. Let's like I said, let cooler heads prevail. And if Hillary gets in, I'm just taking solace in the fact that she will be completely ineffectual, and she hopefully will be taken down in some capacity by the courts in some way with some of the shit she's caught up in. And like you said, if Trump is elected, notwithstanding the fact that he might not be in my opinion, the nice guy in the world, he does give us a shot from at least his rhetoric that he's gonna shake some shit up big time, big league. And that's what we need, dude. We need some serious shaking up. And he's hip to the game, dude. He knows the governments are funding ISIS. He's not just saying ban Muslims because he's a freaking anti-Muslim. He knows the inside baseball of the Trojan horse nature of this immigration policy. So, anyway, sorry to ramble. Enjoyed it as always, man. Until next week, brother. You travel safe to your next destination this week.
Thank you. Looking forward to the next show, buddy. And hopefully the sun comes up tomorrow.
It will. It will indeed. And then the day after that. Everyone enjoy the election day, and peace and all that love. Later, champ.
Later.